Hi everybody, welcome to my latest edition of Science Bytes. I am Miss Nicole with Bloomfield Public Library, and here we are in a new year. And for our new year, we are going to do a project that deals with kinetic and potential energy. We are going to make wind-up spool racers. Super simple to do, just a few items that we need to put it together, and I'm going to give you kits with all of the items so you don't even have to worry about it. The only thing you'll have to come up with at home, I think, is some tape. But other than that, you'll be all set. So again, for today, we are talking about potential and kinetic energy. We touched on it a little bit last month when we did our bouncy balls, but I'll do a little refresher for you as well. So here we have a bouncy ball, and we know with our bouncy ball, we're gonna throw it and it's gonna bounce off a surface and go back up. So while we're holding it in the air above the ground, imagine that this is the ground. While we're holding it above in the air, before anything happens, right now this ball is storing up potential energy. It has the potential to do something. And as soon as we release it, I'm gonna have to just do the motion. As soon as we release it, it transforms into kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is energy of motion. So our ball is moving through the air, it's got kinetic energy, and it has a second where it pauses on the ground. And when it pauses on the ground before bouncing up, it switches back to potential energy, because then it has the potential to do something again. And once it springs up and bounces up, it's back to kinetic energy. So its potential is the potential to do something. You're on the cusp of doing something, and kinetic is actually energy in motion. If you were on a roller coaster, and your roller coaster car was at the very top of the hill, that moment you're at the top of the hill, that's potential energy. And then whoosh, as soon as you start going down that hill in your roller coaster car, it's kinetic energy. And an example I used last month too is a baseball. So if we were gonna throw a baseball, so at that moment where we're pulling back our arm and getting ready to throw, and have not released it yet, but are getting ready to throw, that's potential energy. That ball has the potential to do something. And as soon as we release it and it's moving through the air, that's kinetic energy. It's energy in motion. So what we're going to do today is build a little racer that we're going to store up that potential energy and then let it go and let that kinetic energy, the energy of motion, take effect. Now, as I said, we need just a few things to put together our wind-up racer. We need a wooden spool, and I will give everybody one of these. We need a toothpick, we need a pencil, I'll give you those as well, and we need a rubber band. And now this is the part where you have to come up with something from home. You're gonna need some tape. Doesn't matter what kind of tape. It could be masking tape, scotch tape, duct tape. I'm gonna use my little Pusheen scotch tape dispenser. So I will use scotch tape because I think that's probably what most of us have lying around the house. And then we are ready to put this together. And I'm gonna turn my camera around so you can see me doing it. And the first step is actually going to be the hardest. And I'll actually explain it real quick before I turn my camera around. So one of the things we need to do is get our rubber band to go through the spool. You see, I've got a hole that comes out both ends. You can see through. But we need to get that rubber band through, which isn't the easiest thing. You might be able to force it through, but it's almost a little easier to use the toothpick, and you sort of balance the toothpick in between at the end, like so. Well, it's not doing it very well, but you can use the toothpick to help push that rubber band through, and that's probably what we're gonna try and do. And this is gonna be the trickiest part of our project. Whew. All right, let me turn my camera around so you can see this in action, see the close-up of me putting this together. So as I mentioned, this first step is actually going to be our hardest step. We need to get this rubber band to go all the way through our spool. So I'm going to use the tip of this toothpick and just sort of use it to hold the rubber band like so. And I'm gonna just push through the hole. It's gonna help me feed that rubber band through. Voila, I did it in the first go. Make sure you get the toothpick out of there too though. So right now, I've got the rubber band going through both ends like so. All right, so now we're ready for our next step. Now we are going to take this toothpick that we just used. I'm gonna make sure that, ooh, don't roll away. And we're gonna literally use our fingers to just break it in half. So you're gonna pinch it around the center and just break it in half like so. And you're gonna use one half, you're just gonna stick it through You're gonna stick it through that rubber band, and now you can tug, and that rubber band will not go back through. This is just a way for us to prevent that rubber band from falling back out. We want it to stay in our device. And now here's where your tape comes in handy. You're actually gonna put some tape over this to hold this in place. So I've got my pusheen here. I'm just gonna take a little piece of Scotch tape and just put it right over the top, like so. And now, it's definitely not gonna go anywhere. I actually forgot to mention one of the things we are going to use, but we're going to use also a washer. And you don't have to use one, but I have them handy at work, so we're definitely gonna use them. And you're just going to pinch the end of that rubber band because we're gonna put it through the center of that washer, like so. And there we go. Now we don't need to tape that in place because our pencil is gonna hold that in place for us. And this is the moment where we're actually going to build up our potential energy. And I'm gonna flip the camera back around so you can see me winding this up. So here is what we just created. This is all, we're almost done. We're almost done with our wind-up racer. We just have the last step to go where we're gonna store up all that potential energy. So we pushed the rubber band through, we put the toothpick in the top, then taped it in place. And this is just to prevent our rubber band from falling back out. And we put a washer at the end. We put the rubber band right through it and put the washer on the end. So now, this is when we take our pencil. And ideally you want an unsharpened pencil, but it's okay if you lose my pencil and you need to use a different pencil and it's already sharpened, that's okay. But it does not need to be sharpened because this is going to be what we use to wind up our wind-up racer. So I've put my pencil through the rubber band, and now I am just going to wind and wind and wind and wind. And all this winding is storing up energy, storing up that potential energy in my wind-up racer. And you can go nice and tight. You want to keep winding. What's happening right now is that rubber band is twisting and tightening and winding up almost like a coil. And when we release it, that's when all that potential energy is going to convert into kinetic energy. You are not going to take out the pencil though. The pencil is going to stay where it is. It's going to be part of our wind-up racer. But I'm going to keep going and I can feel it tightening. And that's probably pretty good. Oh, and that's the beauty of science. We're going to do a take two, and I'll tell you why. Because I wound my rubber band up a little tight, and it was an older rubber band, and guess what happened? It broke. So now I'm starting fresh with a new rubber band, and I'm winding it up just like we did before. And then we're gonna let this run across the table. And this one should work okay. I'm not gonna wind it up as much as the last one because I don't wanna break another rubber band. But that could happen to you. And if that happens, that's all right. I'm going to include a few rubber bands in your kits. So if something goes wrong and a rubber band snaps, you've got a backup. That's the beauty of science. We just we recalibrate. So you've done something, you evaluate what might have gone wrong, and you fix it. So now here I am winding it up, and I think that's probably pretty good. And right now it's got tons of potential energy, stored up energy. It has the potential to be doing something. And now we're going to let that energy get released and transform into kinetic energy. So let's take a look at this wind-up racer in action. On your mark, get set, go. Pretty great, right? Now, if you had a nice big floor, it was hard for me to do that on camera, but you could use your kitchen floor or your deck outside or wherever you have a nice floor. It'll probably even work across the carpet. But if you're doing it across carpet, you're going to have the addition of something called friction, and that might slow up your racer a little bit. It won't run as fast as it would on a flat surface, on like a wooden hard surface. But it's okay to do that too if all you've got are carpets. That's fine as well. And you can even see, so I've wound it up a little bit again, and even just holding it. So right now I've wound it up, and we've got it sitting here, and you'll see if I let go of this hand, you'll see the spool spin around, and that is releasing that potential, that's converting the potential energy to kinetic energy, that energy of motion. And that's our whole project for today. I hope you guys enjoy this one. I sometimes like these really simple projects because they're big rewards. It's a simple project to do, but you get a really cool result at the end. And this is one of those projects. So with a few simple steps, you're going to see a very easy, dramatic demonstration of potential versus kinetic energy. So I hope you enjoyed it. And until our next Science Bites, keep having fun with your science, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.